My very last video, if you paid attention to the very end, I said this would be my last video for the month of April 2021. And now 2 days later, I'm back again. So yeah, I'm gonna have to stop saying this is gonna be either my last video for the week or my last video for the month. But well, something happened significant today, somewhat significant. I broke speaking of hiatuses, I actually was engaged in a self-imposed hiatus from live stream panels hosted by black male YouTube content creators. Before today, I think the last time I was active on a live stream panel or even active in a chat room of a live stream was, I want to say the first week of February. February 4th. Yep. February 4th of this year. That was the last time I was on a live stream panel before today. And I think the last time I was active in a live stream chat room was about maybe within a week or two after that. But anyway, yeah, I jumped on, you've heard me mention this young brother named Ramil Amir. He had a live stream earlier today talking about the Steve Harvey Backlash. And I first sent him a super chat, and then I jumped up on his live stream and expressed a few comments. And so I'm sure a lot of people were tripping because, yeah, again, that was my last time being on a live stream panel in the Black Manosphere since February 4th. It's interesting, on a quick side note, he was the first person who got me jumping on him anyway last year. He was doing a live stream talking about men should avoid marriage, and somebody on his panel was disparaging me, talking about I lost respect for ARC because I thought he was red pill, but the fact that he's now engaged to be married, I know now he's purple pill, and I jumped on the panel to clap back at that shit, at that comment. And then that kind of got me started on a whole slew of live stream. Matter of fact, I started developing a nickname, Live Stream Panel ARC. People would say there's two ARCs. There's the ARC from his audiobooks and even his own YouTube videos. Then there's Live Stream Panel ARC, or for short, just Panel ARC. Yeah, they basically argue that Live Stream Panel ARC is more argumentative, more insulting, more contentious, which to a certain degree is true. The two biggest things that irritate me most of the time on live streams is three things. I don't like people interrupting me. I don't like people disrespecting me. And I don't like people asking me stupid, dumbass questions. That's the main three things that get on my nerves when I'm on most people's live streams. People interrupting me, people just generally saying something or doing something that I feel is disrespectful to me, or just asking me stupid, dumbass questions. But anyway, on this video, I want to cover three things on this video, which is what brought me back on YouTube before the end of the month. I want to talk about the same thing Ramil was talking about, which is the backlash over Steve Harvey's comments. I want to briefly talk about Anthony Johnson, the founder and owner of 21 Studios, and a tweet he had that he posted within the last 24 hours. And then finally, there's a young brother who misspoke about Mo 1. And this is a young brother I actually like. I've never had beef with him, but he did a video recently and he fed into a criticism on one that just gets on my nerves. Matter of fact, I'm going to start there. That's where I'm going to start, is with this. There's a young brother. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to say his name. But he comments in my comment section semi-regularly. Like at least 2 of my last 5 videos, he commented in my comment section. And he just did a video yesterday called The Ugly Truth Rant about the Black Manosphere. The Ugly Truth Rant about the Black Manosphere. And he was expressing a lot of commentary and criticisms against certain aspects of the Black Manosphere. And during the course of his Ugly Truth Rant, he brought my name up. He was making a point. He said, remember in my very last video, either my last video or my next to last video, I made the comment that people who say the game is the game are stupid. Because you can't compare all various aspects of game. When you say the game is the game, that's like saying that all aspects of the game are similar to each other. That's like saying that all aspects of the game are of dealing with women are similar to each other. No, they're not. And again, the most simplest distinction I point out is the difference between direct verbal game advice and indirect verbal game advice. Direct verbal game advice and indirect verbal game advice. 99% of the time, those pieces of advice are totally different. Once again, when you're an indirect dating coach, just about all indirect verbal game dating coaches, here are their 2 main objectives. They have 2 primary objectives with their clients. They want to help their clients, number 1, prevent, avoid, or minimize instances of rejection. That's their number 1 objective of an indirect verbal game dating coach, is to help their clients prevent, avoid, or at least minimize, significantly minimize their instances of being rejected by a woman. And then number 2, their secondary objective is to help their clients prevent, avoid, or significantly minimize their instances of being criticized by women, insulted by women, and generally receiving negative reactions from women. That's the 2 major objectives of any indirect verbal game dating coach, is helping their clients prevent, avoid, or minimize rejection, which is the basis for mode 3 behavior. That's the basis for mode 3 behavior. And number 2 is to help their clients prevent, avoid, and significantly minimize the instances of being criticized, insulted, or receiving negative reactions from women, which is the basis for mode 2 behavior. That's the basis for mode 2 behavior. My objective is to help my clients. Here would be, if I had to narrow mine down to 2 objectives, my number 1 objective is to help men overcome their fear of rejection. Is to help men overcome their fear of rejection so that they will speak to women in a manner that's more confident, self-assured, upfront, and straightforwardly honest. That's my number 1 objective, is to help men overcome rejection so that they can speak to women in a manner that's more confident, more highly self-assured, more upfront, and straightforwardly honest. My number 2 objective is to help men avoid wasting time and or money. Wasting time and or money, number 1, with women who have no interest in having sex with them. Number 1, help prevent them from wasting time or money with women who have no interest in having sex with them, i.e. manipulative time wasters. And number two, even help them minimize the amount of time and or money they invest towards the women who are interested in having sex with them. That's my number one objective as a direct verbal game dating coach. Now, if you remember, I did a video was it last year? I think it was last year, called the top 5 dumbest and or most invalid criticisms that I've received in regards to my Mode 1 approach. The top 5 most dumbest and or most invalid criticisms I received. Let me pull it up real quick. Hold on one second. If you remember, here was number 1. I had 5, and here was number 1. Direct verbal game, which includes ARC's Mode 1 approach, will cause you to leave opportunities for sex on the table that you could have taken advantage of if you had instead chosen to use some variation of indirect verbal game. That's enough of all the criticisms and arguments I've received against my Mode 1 approach. That's actually number 1. If I had to call out one person by name who's frequently expressed that criticism, is Alpha Male Strategies. He's frequently expressed that criticism, that you'll leave pussy on the table when you Mode 1. And again, just last night, I had this young brother who I actually like, and I respect, but he said that. It's like he gave Mode 1 a compliment and a criticism at the same time. He was talking about, I'm slightly paraphrasing his words, but he at one point in his podcast or live stream, he said, you can't compare the game of one dating coach to another dating coach. And he said, remember I did a video where I said it's usually problematic if you follow too many dating coaches at one time. Like if you're following 3 or 4 or 5 or more different dating coaches at the same time, I said 90 to 99% chance that's going to become problematic for the simple reason that it's inevitable that each of those dating coaches are going to say something that's going to contradict something that the other dating coach said. I did a video about that. David X was also, before he died, when we were in London together in November 2010, he said that on stage. I'll never forget that. He told the guys that in London. He said it's a mistake to follow 2 or more dating coaches at the same time. And he said for the same reason I said. He said because if you follow 2 or more dating coaches at the same time, it's inevitable that one dating coach is going to say something that's contradictory to something that another dating coach has said. Then you're going to end up being confused and frustrated because you ain't going to know whose advice is more valid. And anyway, this young brother who did this live stream last night, he was essentially saying the same thing. He was saying basically that you guys shouldn't be following like a whole bunch of dating coaches at the same time because their advice is going to be conflicted. And he said, like Alan Roger Currie has his Mode 1 approach. His approach to dealing with women is totally different than other dating coaches, which is true. So no lies there. It's true. He said Alan Roger Currie's Mode 1 approach is totally different than anybody else's advice. Then he mentioned a few other dating coaches. He said this dating coach, he got his own unique brand of advice. Then this other dating coach, he got his own unique brand of advice. And, but here's where he ticked me off, man. He said, a few minutes later, he brought me up again. He said, yeah, like Alan Roger Currie. Alan Roger Currie, his Mode 1 approach, the benefit of his Mode 1 approach is that you won't waste a lot of time or money on women who ain't feeling you like that. Who ain't, basically who ain't trying to give you no pussy. You ain't gonna waste no time or money on women who ain't trying to give you no pussy. But then he followed it up by saying, but he said the one drawback though to Mode 1 is that you're gonna leave a lot of pussy on the table. He said that's the one drawback of Mode 1. You're gonna leave a lot of pussy on the table. And I was just like, what? So the young brother who I'm referring to, you know who you are. I ain't going to say your name, at least not just yet. You know who you are. I got it, just like I had to indoctrinate Bernard, I got to indoctrinate you, young brother. And I like you, but I still got to indoctrinate you. Insert dog face here. Man, I did at least one video related to this topic before. Technically, I covered this in 2 videos. That video I already spoke of that was called the top 5 dumbest and most invalid criticisms against the Mode 1 approach. I covered this then, and there was another video I did 2 years ago called Destroying the Myth of Leaving Pussy on the Table. So here's the first thing that I got to reiterate for the umpteenth time. When you use that phrase, leaving something on the table, that comes from the world of business. In case you didn't know that. That comes from the world of business. To leave something, there's 2 main things in the business world that's usually discussed. Is when it comes to some type of negotiation that involves money, salaries, salary negotiation. There's a phrase, that person left money on the table. Then when it comes to offers of employment, like say you interview for a job and somebody offered you a job and you could leave it on the table. Let me give a quick example of the legitimate definition of leaving something on the table. And I've used one of these before, sports agent. Let's say I'm a sports agent and I represent a professional NFL player, okay? And I enter into the negotiation with the owner of the NFL football team, and I say, I want my client to be paid $14 million a year. And the owner says, nah, I'm willing to pay him $6 million a year. I say, no, he got to be paid $14 million a year. And the owner says, no, I'm going to pay him $6 million a year. So then we negotiate. And then the owner says, okay, I'll pay him $8 million a year. I say, nah, that's not good enough. I want 14, but at bare minimum, I want 12. I'll settle for 12. And the owner says, nope, I'm giving him 8. And I say, no, 12. Then we negotiate. Then finally, reluctantly, the owner says, okay, here's my absolute last offer. I'm willing to pay him $10 million a year this upcoming season. I'm signed for a 2-year contract of $10 million a year. Now, the way the negotiation has gone, most people would expect me to take that deal because that's about the halfway mark. I started out wanting 14. Owner started off offering 6. He moved up 2 to 8. I dropped down 2 to 12. Then he moved up another 2 to 10. And you would expect me to drop down to 10 and say, okay, let's shake hands. You got a deal. But let's say instead of shaking hands and saying we got a deal, I say, nope. If my client can have $12 million a year, I'm going to recommend that he sit out this season. And the owner says, I regret your decision, but if that's your decision, okay. And I walk out to the negotiating room. What would that be representative of? That would be representative of me leaving money on the table. That would be a prime example of me leaving money on the table. I negotiated with the owner. He started off only wanting to offer $6 million a year. I got him to increase it to $10 million a year. But yet and still, I still respectfully declined that offer. That's a classic example of leaving money on the table. Another similar example would be if you were interviewing for a job. You were interviewing for a job for a certain company, and you said, I want a salary of $90,000 a year, and I want ample vacation time and sick leave, and I never want to work on Saturdays or Sundays or holidays. And the person you're interviewing with says, you know what? I'm willing to offer you $75,000 a year and everything else you ask for. And you say, nope. You say, nope. And then let's say the person says, okay, I'm going to give you a compromise. I'm willing to pay you $100,000 a year, but there's going to be one Saturday a month and one holiday a year that you got to work. I'm going to pay you $100,000 a year, but you're going to have to work at least one Saturday per month and one holiday per year. And you say, nope, I'm sorry, I respectfully decline that offer because I don't want to work on Saturdays or holidays. And the person offering the job says, okay. Say that would be an example also of you leaving money, or another way, leaving an employment opportunity on the table. Somebody offered you something guaranteed and you respectfully turned it down. That's what it means to leave something on the table. Get it, got it good? That's what it truly means to leave something on the table. Now let's transfer that to pussy. You got a lot of guys, and again, I've been hearing this criticism for like definitely the last 5 years, and even more so, I've been hearing it ever since the age of the internet started. I would say going back as far back as the late 90s, early 2000s, I've been hearing this criticism in regards to my Mode 1 approach. Guys say, yeah, Mode 1, it seems pretty cool, but man, it seems like with the Mode 1 approach, you're going to leave a lot of pussy on the table. Here's fact number one, and I've already expressed this a number of times, but I'm expressing it again. You cannot, I repeat, you cannot leave pussy on the table if pussy has not been offered to you in a guaranteed manner. Drops mic. Boom. You can't. If you ain't talking about an offer of guaranteed sex, you do not know what the fuck you're talking about. Give me your number so I can tell you that directly, because I'm dying to. You stupid fucks. You can't leave pussy on the table if it has not been offered to you yet in a guaranteed manner. That's the only way you can leave pussy on the table. The only way you can leave pussy on the table is if a woman was to say to you, hey, David, I'm really attracted to you. I want to give you some pussy. I want you to fuck me over the next few months. But the one catch is you got to go on Facebook and tell everybody that I'm your new girlfriend. And you were to say, nah, that don't fly with me. Nah, I don't want to announce you as my new girlfriend. So even though I'm sure I would enjoy myself with you sexually, I'm going to respectfully decline that offer. And she says, okay, suit yourself. See, that would be an example of you leaving pussy on the table. That would be a prime example of you leaving pussy on the table. Is if a woman offered you some pussy in a guaranteed manner, but she has some type of term or condition associated with getting that pussy that you weren't willing to abide by. That's leaving pussy on the table. That's leaving pussy on the table. Like, I can name at minimum at least one time I did actually have that type of situation where you can say I legitimately left pussy on the table. I remember it was a book signing event in 2006. I was in California. And there was this older black woman. She's about 38, 39. Good looking. If I had to rank her face was probably about a 6.5. Or as high, maybe as high as a 7 on a scale from 1 to 10. Body-wise, she was probably about an 8.5. She had a real nice body. Small waist, big ass. And she said, we had danced a few times. And she said, I'm really attracted to you. And I said, I find you attractive and sexy as well. And we talked, and skipping on miscellaneous conversation details, she basically said, I want to spend the night with you, but I'm only willing to spend the night with you if you can guarantee me that this is going to lead to something significant, something profound. I said, what do you mean by that? And she basically went on to say she wanted to have a romantic relationship with me, a boyfriend-girlfriend type relationship with me, even though it would have been long distance, because I was living in the Chicago area and she was living in the Los Angeles area. Even though later on I actually did end up having a romantic relationship with a woman who lived in LA, but that's another story for another day. But yeah, she basically was like, in so many words, she was like, I'll give you this pussy tonight if you can guarantee me that you're willing to be my next long-term boyfriend. And I was like, no, I ain't willing to guarantee you that. I said, as much as I'm attracted to you, I said, I ain't willing to tell you that. I said, realistically, if I fuck you tonight, and this is going to be my last night in town, I said, if I fuck you tonight, there's a 99% chance I ain't going to never see you again. And if I was to see you again, make an effort to see you again on my subsequent visits to LA, I would basically be treating you like a fuck buddy. You would basically be a fuck buddy, or at most like a friends with benefits. But I said, as far as like, you being my woman, like my girlfriend, I was like, no, that ain't gonna happen. And she said, okay. She said, I respect your honesty. And we didn't sleep together. That's it. That was the time when I legitimately left pussy on the table. Because I wasn't, the biggest thing, I wasn't willing to lie to her or emotionally manipulate her. I wasn't willing to toy with her emotions. And, I've talked about that repeatedly on videos. I ain't into toying with women's emotions to get the pussy. That ain't my MO. Other guys do that shit, man. I frown on any guy who does that shit. If I can't get pussy by being upfront, straight up with women, then I don't want the pussy. Yeah, that's how I am. That's how I've been since I was in my early 20s, man. Here's a simple thing for me, man. Here are three general disqualifiers for me for pussy. If I have to invest a lot of time in spending with a woman in order to get casual sex pussy, I don't want it. Like if I got to spend multiple hours with a woman, multiple days, multiple weeks with a woman in a non-sexual manner before she decides to give me some casual sex pussy, I don't want the shit. I don't care. She could be drop dead gorgeous. She could be a 10 on a 1 to 10 scale. I don't want it. If I got to invest a whole bunch of time, I don't want the shit. Period. Other guys might be willing to do it. I don't want the shit. It ain't worth it to me. Not casual sex. Now, long-term relationship is sometimes worth it for me to invest time into a woman. But for casual sex, it ain't never. I don't care how beautiful or sexy a woman is. Again, she could be Victoria's Secret model fine. I don't give a fuck. If I can't get casual sex pussy quickly and easily, I don't fucking want it. Drops mic. Second thing, money. If I gotta invest a significant amount of money to fuck a woman casually, I don't want to fuck her. Again, she could be drop dead gorgeous. Drop dead gorgeous. If I gotta take her out to 3 dinners, 3 lunches, all that bullshit, I don't want the shit. If I can't get the pussy on my looks and my mouthpiece, I don't want the shit. I ain't saying all y'all need to be like me, but I'm telling you how I am. I don't want the shit. It ain't worth it to me. It ain't worth it. Period. It ain't worth it to me. If you think it's worth it to you invest time and money, go follow some indirect verbal game dating coach. For me, it ain't worth it. If I can't get casual sex quickly, easily, based on my looks and my mouthpiece, I don't want the shit. That's facts. I don't want the shit. Drops mic again. And third, and probably most prominently, if I have to resort to lying to a woman, misleading a woman, and psychologically and emotionally manipulating a woman, otherwise known as toying with a woman's emotions to get the pussy, I definitely, without question, don't want it. I know motherfuckers who gotten killed for fucking with a woman's emotions. I know motherfuckers that gotten their cars vandalized for toying with women's emotions. I know guys that ended up in jail on false date rape charges for fucking with a woman's emotions. If you want to do that shit and take the risk, you go right ahead. This brother right here ain't gonna be that stupid. When it comes to casual sex pussy, I want it quickly, easily, inexpensively, with no lies, bullshit, or manipulative head games involved. I want it quickly, I want it easily, inexpensively, with no lies, bullshit, or manipulative head games involved. That's Alan Roger Currie. That's Alan Roger Currie. So this young brother who said that you lose, number one again, he's using a faulty phrase, leaving it on the table. I don't leave pussy. You can't leave pussy. See what he and other guys are basically suggesting when they say that Ellen, or if people use more one, they're going to potentially leave pussy on the table. What they're basically suggesting is that, Ellen, if you're willing to talk to a woman for 30 minutes instead of 5 to 10 minutes, you probably can fuck that woman, have a better chance of fucking that woman. Or if you'd be more willing to spend $100 on a woman instead of $5 or $10 on a woman, you'd probably have a better chance at fucking that woman. Or third, they're saying, if you would be willing to at least get that woman the misleading impression that you're open to becoming her next long-term boyfriend, or even possibly her future husband, instead of telling her directly that all you want is casual sex from her, you probably will have a better chance at fucking her. What did I just say? What did I just say, man? I ain't willing to do none of that shit. I ain't willing to talk to a woman for an hour instead of 5, 10, 15 minutes. What have I always told you guys? Studies back me up on this. Studies have shown, man, women know at no later than the 15-minute mark of their very first conversation with you if they're willing to indulge in short-term, non-monogamous, casual sex with you. That's been proven by interviews with women, surveys by women. You cannot increase a woman's interest in having casual sex with you over a period of hours, days, or weeks. Anybody tells you that, they don't know women. Period. They don't know what the fuck they talking about. Dumbass motherfuckers out of here. Women know if they want to fuck you or not. What can you convince them? Okay, what can you convince a woman of by talking to her for an hour instead of, say, 10 to 15 minutes when it comes to persuading her to have casual sex with you? What can you possibly convince her of over a period of, say, an hour or even 2 hours as opposed to 10 to 15 minutes? What? You invited to tell me in my comment section. What you gonna say to them that's gonna magically change their fucking mind? What you gonna say to them? Nigga, if you're ugly, you're ugly. If a woman looks at you as an ugly motherfucker in the first 10 minutes, 2 hours later, you still an ugly motherfucker to her. You got that? Start with the looks. If you ugly, you ugly. If she's not physically attracted to you, ain't nothing you gonna do or say over the next 2 hours that's gonna change your motherfucking mind. She ain't attracted to your ugly ass. Yeah, I said it, motherfucker. Hell yeah, I said it. She ain't gonna sleep with your fucking ugly ass. If a woman don't feel like you confident, masculine, or erotically dominant in the first 10 to 15 minutes of the conversation, what you gonna do to change that over the course of 2 hours? What the fuck you gonna do? If she looks at you as a wimp, a simp, somebody who she can easily manipulate in the first 15 minutes, what do you think you gonna do to change that over the next 2 hours? Man, shut the fuck up. If a woman has no interest in having sex with you, period, or at minimum she has no interest in having sex with you without being in a romantic relationship with you, a boyfriend-girlfriend type relationship with you, what are you going to do over 2 hours to change her mind? Other than lie to her and basically mislead her into believing that you do want to be her next long-term boyfriend. That's the only option you're going to have. Excuse me. Y'all motherfuckers need to wake the fuck up, man. I'm tired of this dumb shit. This stupid shit. Now about this friendship shit. Now, you know, that video that Steve Harvey, that everybody's tripping off on now, you know that's over 10 years old. That's from an interview he did in 2010. But some person on TikTok played it, and I guess women who are like between 18 and 27 are now seeing it for the first time. And they calling Steve Harvey all kinds of names and saying that that's bullshit. I defend Steve Harvey. Matter of fact, not that I'm trying to one-up Steve Harvey, but I talked about that shit way before he did. He didn't make the news for talking about that shit until 2010. Man, I was talking about fun clubbing back in the 1980s, 1990s, man. I was talking about the idea of fun clubbing. That's a term me and my frat brothers used to use way back when I was in college in the early to mid 80s. What is fun clubbing? Fun clubbing is anytime you're involved in a disingenuous platonic friendship with a woman. In other words, you're pretending like you're content with being a woman's friend, but deep down, you either want her to be your next long-term girlfriend or at minimum, you want her to be your next fuck buddy. That means you fun clubbing, man. Most men fun club with women. Most men fun club with women. I'll say this. I'm not going to go as far as say it's impossible for a heterosexual man and a heterosexual woman to maintain a long-standing friendship. I've done it a handful of times. But most of my female friends are women who are married. I ain't had too many long-standing female friends with women who were totally like single and unattached. They were usually women who were married, engaged to be married, or had a long-term boyfriend. Now I've done the opposite. I can name a number of times where I start off as being fuck buddies with a woman, or friends with benefits with a woman, or at bare minimum phone sex partners with a woman, and then we transition into just being friends. There's a lot of women for me who fall into that category, where we started off fucking, being fuck buddies, friends with benefits, or at bare minimum, we were regular or semi-regular phone sex partners, and then we transitioned into being just friends. Here's my thing. Here's what I've told women over the years, and most women don't accept my challenge. I got a challenge for women. Here's my challenge for you women. Anytime you think a guy is truly your friend, this is what you need to do. Offer him some pussy. I'm not saying that lightheartedly or facetiously. Offer him some pussy. Offer him some pussy. Say something like, hey, Raphael, do you consider yourself my friend? And let's say he says, yeah, I'm your friend. Well, what if I wanted to become your fuck buddy instead of your friend? Would you be down for that? If instead of us being just platonic friends, I wanted us to transition into becoming fuck buddies or friends with benefits, would you have a problem with that? Here's what I've always said to women. And y'all, if you're a long-time follower, you know this story. Here's what I've always said to women. Men are going to give you 3 responses. 99.9% chance a man's going to give you one of 3 responses. A, before you even finish asking that question, he's going to be taking off his clothes trying to fuck you right then and there. That's reaction number 1. Reaction number 2, a guy is going to try to justify why he's maintained a friendship with you up to this point. He's going to say, oh, Linda, I really treasure our friendship, and you've been such a good friend to me, and blah, 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 blah. And then after he gets his little disingenuous soliloquy out the way, he's going to take off his clothes and try to fuck you right then and there. That's reaction number 2. Then reaction number 3 is the guy's going to go, ew, that's disgusting. I look at you like a blood sister. I would never in a million years thinking about having sex with you. That's like, I look at that almost like as an incest. Oh, that's disgusting. I tell women all the time, only reaction number 3 means that guy is genuinely interested in maintaining a true platonic friendship with you. Only reaction number 3. Reaction number 1, reaction number 2, that man was just waiting for his lucky day. He was just fun clubbing until he experiences his lucky day. And I had a woman who I knew real well that experienced that. She had this guy who was so-called platonic friends with her for just under 3 years. And she was bragging about how great of a friend he was. I said, have you ever offered him any pussy? She said, no, I never did it. I said, then it ain't a real friendship. If you ain't never offered him no pussy, it ain't a real friendship. And we went back and forth. So finally, she decided to take my challenge. She did the challenge that I just described. And then we didn't talk for about a month and a half, 2 months or so. Then we finally talked. She sounded like she was on the verge of crying, man. She said, you niggas ain't shit. That's what she said. She said, you niggas ain't shit. All y'all men, y'all ain't shit. That's what I knew what had gone down. I said, oh shit, what happened? And she told me she did my challenge. She basically offered to be his fuck buddy instead of his platonic friend. Now, I thought she was going to tell me he had reaction number 2, since they had been friends for almost 3 years. I thought she was going to tell me he had reaction number 2. He had reaction number 1. She said before she could barely finish asking him the question, she said he started ripping off his clothes, took out his dick. He said, baby, I've been waiting for this moment for the longest. I've been waiting to fuck you so bad. Man, I've been wanting to get in that pussy. I've been wanting to get in that pussy for like the last 3 years. She said that he just hopped on top of her. And she was like, get off of me, get off of me. And he was like, wait a minute, you said we can now be fuck buddies. And she said, no, I was just testing you. And then he got mad and went to mode 4, cursed her out and left. Man, that's why you got to be mode 1. That's why I wrote mode 1. See, I was talking about the objectives of direct dating coaches versus indirect dating coaches. See, indirect dating coaches are all about trying to help you prevent rejection or prevent negative reactions. See, when I first came out with mode 1, one of my top 2, top 3 objectives was to keep men out of women's friend zones. Was to keep men out of women's friend zones. You can easily keep yourself out of friend zone by just telling women straight up, hey, I don't believe in platonic friendships with women that I find physically attractive or sexually appealing. I don't believe in maintaining platonic friendships with women that I find physically attractive or sexually appealing. I'm trying to fuck. What say you? I've done that with I don't know how many women in my life. I tell women that all the time, particularly before I got married. I used to tell women that all the time. I would say, I don't believe in maintaining a platonic friendship with a woman that I feel that I find physically attractive or sexual. Basically, a woman who could get my dick hard. I always tell women, if you can get my dick hard, you ain't qualified to be a platonic friend. If you have the ability to get my dick hard, you ain't qualified to be a platonic friend. The only way you can be a platonic friend of mine is if you don't get my dick hard. Or the one other possible exception is if you're already married. Is if a woman's married or engaged to be married or she already got a long-term boyfriend. But even that's real secondary. The biggest thing is the only way you can be a platonic friend of mine is if you don't get my dick hard. Now, my final subject for this video. Anthony Johnson did a tweet where he said the manosphere is filled with wounded beta males role-playing as alpha males for super chats. It's the blind leading the blind. No, blind leading the blind is too kind of a description for what they do. And I wrote a response on my community page and on Twitter to Anthony Johnson. Who said that way before Anthony Johnson said that? But credit to Anthony Johnson for saying that. But who said that even way? If you've been following me for a while, I remember specifically, I said that as far back as like August or September of 2017. Yep, I did a video as far back as August of 2017 where I essentially said the same thing. I said most of the guys in the manosphere, I said there's a lot of guys who are content creators in the manosphere, in the worldwide manosphere, and more particularly with more particular emphasis on the black manosphere. There's a lot of content creators who fall into one of these 2 categories. They fall into one of these 2 categories. And I've done at least 2 or 3 videos about it. Number 1 category. There's a lot of guys who are YouTube content creators and red pill enthusiasts and whatever advocates for men that are really just bitter, resentful, borderline misogynistic type men who trying to make money off of other bitter, resentful, borderline misogynistic men. That's category number 1. It's a lot of motherfuckers in the manosphere in that category. White and black, black and non-black. And not just black men, black and non-black. There's a lot of men who are bitter, resentful, borderline misogynist type men that all they do is whine, complain, and bitch about what they perceive as the flaws and weaknesses of women's behavior, their moral character, their integrity, and they're making money off of that shit. By either super chats, PayPal donations, Cash App donations, or whatever products they have to offer. I don't get that shit, man. You a bitter dude paying money to another bitter dude and you helping him become wealthy. What sense does that make? I did a video on that, I remember, in 2019. Can't remember the title of it. You're a dude who's bitter and resentful towards all the women who've rejected you, all the women who've ignored you, all the women who've manipulated you and taken advantage of you financially, all the women that cheated on you. And you listening to another motherfucker who's experienced the same thing as you, only you paying him money. That's a damn fucking shame. Damn shame. So that's one group of guys I've gone after from time to time since I've been on YouTube. Second group of guys is you got guys who are fraudulent, fake ladies' men and fake womanizers marketing themselves as dating coaches or PUAs when you know damn well these motherfuckers ain't never gotten an above average amount of pussy in their fucking life. I can look at a motherfucker and listen to a motherfucker talk, and that's all I need to know about if that motherfucker's truly a womanizer. Now, I've said that for like 20 years. For me, it just comes down to how you look and how you sound. And no less than 90% of the time, I've been right on the money. I can look at somebody and or listen to how they express themselves verbally, and I'll know if that motherfucker has gotten an above average amount of pussy in their life. Number one, man, and I hate to bruise egos like this, but I'm just keeping it real, man. Some of you guys, man, y'all just ain't physically attractive enough to be any type of exceptional ladies, man, or exceptional woman. I ain't saying that means you ain't got no pussy at all. You might have gotten, an average amount of pussy in your life, but as far as anybody for somebody to write home to mama about, some of y'all ain't physically attractive enough, man. I'm just keeping that shit real, man. I'm keeping that shit real. I know a lot of men don't like to talk about the whole looks issue, but I'm keeping that shit real, man. Some of these motherfuckers who market themselves as dating coaches and successful PUAs and legendary ladies, man, and womanizer women, I look at them and be like, nigga, you are lying. You are lying. You are lying. You ain't got a lot of pussy in your life without paying for it. I guarantee you ain't. Some of these motherfuckers, I guarantee y'all ain't got a lot of any type of above average or exceptional amount of pussy without paying for the shit. Because y'all ain't got it in the looks department. I ain't saying you gotta look like Brad Pitt or Boris Kojo to get an above average or exceptional amount of pussy. I'm not necessarily saying that. But at the same time, man, come on, man. Let's be real, man. Second thing next to looks is your mouthpiece, man. I've always talked about looks and mouthpiece, looks and mouthpiece, looks and mouthpiece. Second thing, man, I hear some of these guys talk. Like guys who market themselves as top-notch ladies, man, and woman. I mean, listen to them talk. I'll be like, man, this dude ain't never had an above average amount of pussy in his life. Again, I'm not going as far as say these guys are incels. They might have got some measure of pussy. But I'm saying, to me, in order to market yourself as a dating coach or a top-notch PUA, you shouldn't have just gotten pussy in your life. You should have gotten an exceptional amount of pussy. Like, I've said this once before. I don't particularly agree with a lot of stuff that this Australian PUA named James Marshall says. But he said one thing that, for the most part, I agree with. We were in Berlin, Germany together. And he happened to touch on the qualifications to be a dating coach or PUA. He said, if you haven't had sex with at least 100 women, no, casual sex, not just sex, but specifically casual sex, short-term non-monogamous casual sex. He said, if you haven't had short-term those weren't exactly, I don't think he specifically said short-term non-monogamous. He just said casual sex, but I say that. He said, if you haven't had casual sex with at least 100 women that are, in terms of physical attractiveness, that are 7 or above without paying for them. In other words, without tricking or whining and dining, basically just on a combination of your looks and mouthpiece. He said, if you haven't had sex with at least 100 women that are of a 7 and above caliber without spending money on them, he said, then you shouldn't be a dating coach or a PUA. He said, you should not be marketing yourself as a dating coach or a PUA. Particularly if your advice centers around helping men score casual sex. Particularly if your advice centers around helping men score casual sex. He said, you're not qualified. That's what James Marshall said. He said, you're not qualified. I agree with him. You're not qualified, man. See, like you take me, man. Man, I had a reputation for being a ladies' man and a womanizer even before the internet even existed. Like a lot of these other guys, man, who now market themselves as PUAs or dating coaches, they've been just generating what I call internet-based credibility. Internet-based credibility. It ain't real world credibility. It's internet-based credibility. Dude, I know a lot of y'all think I'm egotistical and I always like to, toot my horn and, as Big Mike from Maxie Lemon says, do a bunch of ball rubbing. But yeah, I'm about to do at least 2 or 3 minutes of ball rubbing. My reputation started as far back as my senior in high school. My senior in high school, man, bitches used to go crazy over me. Women used to ask for my autograph when I was a senior in high school. That's how popular I was with girls. Women used to literally ask for my autograph, like women from other schools and shit. When I was a senior in high school, my number one claim to fame, I was probably the most popular ladies' man in my hometown of Gary, Indiana, that was not some type of star athlete. Like that wasn't a star basketball player, a star football player, or some other star. If you was at any girl who graduated from high school in Gary, Indiana, starting with 1981, either 1981, 1982, 1983, or 1984, if you was ever meet a woman from Gary, Indiana, you used to ask them, who would you say was the one of the top 5, top 10 most popular guys in the city of Gary, the type of guy that women just went crazy over, particularly that wasn't like a star athlete. I guarantee you, 80 to 90% of women you would ask that to, they would be like, oh, that's easy, Alan Currie. That's what they would say. They would be like, Alan Currie. Alan Currie was the number one guy, particularly that wasn't an athlete, that girls just went nuts over. So that's when my reputation for being popular with women first began. Even more so, I would say, was starting with the 1984-85 school year at Indiana University. That's when I first started being more one with women. And a percentage of my frat brothers, they used to nickname me the Legend, D-A Legend. Anybody, if you talk to anybody who was at IU during the 84-85 school year, who was one of the baddest ladies, man, and woman, matter of fact, speaking of that, Kevin Samuels, man. He's one of the few guys who I heard him one time on a live stream mention that he had heard of me even before the age of the internet. Yeah, he was talking about different stuff, and somebody asked him, they said, hey, Kevin, I heard you and Alan Roger Currie are fraternity brothers. Did y'all know each other in college? And he said, no, he said, ARC is a few years older than me, so no, we didn't go to college around the same time. But then he said, but I had heard of ARC years ago, like even before the internet or the manosphere existed. He said, I had heard of ARC from some of my frat brothers who knew brothers from his chapter. He said a lot of brothers from his chapter used to give him big ups for being good with the ladies. And he said, so yeah, I knew about ARC like years ago, just from word of mouth. See, that's because I already had a strong reputation and credibility, man. Before the days of internet, man, the way your reputation spread was just simply by word of mouth, man. Motherfuckers used to talk about this brother, man. particularly when it came to being like really verbally bold and verbally straightforward with women, people, I was always on the top of their list. They'd be like, oh man, if y'all want to talk to a brother that's like, that when he talks to women, just don't hold back, don't mince no words, just straight up with women, like I want to fuck you in the first few seconds of the conversation, is ARC, Alan Roger Currie, man. That dude, man, he don't fuck around, man. He gets to a point like that. I had a reputation before I even came to YouTube, man. I would say even before the internet existed, I had a reputation for being a ladies' man. There's people in my real life who can vouch for me in a nutshell. There's people who I went to high school with, college with, and have just known as an adult who can vouch for me. Can these other so-called dating coaches of PUA say the same thing? Do they have anybody from their high school days who could vouch for them? If they went to college, somebody from their college days who could vouch for them. If they didn't go to college, if they served in the armed services, do they get at least 2 or 3 guys who can vouch for them? People that they've interacted with before they announced themselves as a dating coach or a PUA. Somebody from their real life. That's what I want to know. I'm Alan Roger Currie. I'm the king of verbal seduction and kinky erotic dirty talk. I'm the godfather of direct verbal game, advice, and wisdom. You just got schooled.
Yes, sir.
Say it again.
Yes, sir.
Who's the king?
Alan, you're the king.
Say it again.
Alan, you're the king. You're dominating me.
Say it again.
Alan, you're dominating me right now. Mode 1.
Mode 1.
Daddy, can I go, please? You're the king.
Say it again.
Oh, you're the fucking king. Yes. Yes. Yes.
You're the king, Alan.
AKA the king of verbal seduction. You know, it's the tone of your voice, how seductive your intonations are, the vibrations that you could just reach out over the phone lines and stroke a woman's breast just by the sound of your voice, how you could make her pussy so wet just by the sound of your voice. That's actually very hot.
So you said my show was what?
I said your show is powerful.
Oh, say it again.
Your show is powerful.
I bet the king would fuck me really good.
Who's the king?
Alan Roger Currie.
Oh, yeah. Who's the king?
Alan Roger Currie. The king.
The king.
The king.
I have to agree with you on the communication piece, because I actually did take a session with Alan Roger Currie, and he gave me a line that I did not think was going to work, and it worked. And I was like, what the fuck?
Oh my God.
Man, he's the master. He's the master of the verbal seduction. He got that communication piece down pat.
It really worked. Yeah. It just simply worked, and I just didn't think it was going to work at all.
Some guys have natural handles. Some guys have a better natural shot, but you can always improve your shot. And sex is damn sure something you can fucking learn. Look, dude, you want to learn how to talk better? I'm hiring Alan Roger Currie to get my dirty talk game on, because it's always been something I want to get better at.
Verbal seduction, man. I'm like, clearly, this guy is the Michael Jordan of seduction. Like, come on now.